Okay, Jefferson County Court at Law number 2 is back in session. The court is in session. It calls number 23CCCR 0798. Case is style the state of Texas versus Alexander Mitchell Dadalo. Mr. Dadalo, is that your full name?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Dadalo, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Dadalo, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Mr. Dadalo, you may put your hand down. How are you doing, Mr. Dadalo?
I'm good, Mr. Terrence. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, Mr. Dadalo. You're here represented by your attorney Giles Cole. Attorney Cole, do you waive a record in Mr. Dadalo's case?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Dadalo, I have before me a document that is titled information. This information was filed by the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office. This information alleges that on or about March 29th of 2023, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed the Class B misdemeanor offense of criminal trespass. Mr. Dadalo, do you understand what you have been charged with?
Yes, sir, I do, Your Honor.
And to this charge, Mr. Dadalo, how do you plead? Guilty? Guilty?
Yes, sir.
Now you're pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
And are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes, sir, I'm guilty.
Mr. Dadalo, I also have before me a document that is titled misdemeanor plea admonishments. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir, I do.
On page 2 of the same document, there's a set of initials on a line next to a box that says guilty. Initials are AD. Did you place your initials on this document?
Yes, sir, I did.
On the next page of the same document, there is a signature above the line that is titled defendant. Is this your signature?
Yes, sir, it is.
And, Mr. Dadalo, I have before me a document that is titled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal. Do you recognize this document?
I sure do.
And is this your signature on the line that is titled defendant?
Yes, sir, it is.
Mr. Dadalo, we have a discovery certification. You do. Mr. Dadalo, I also have a document that is titled discovery certification. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir, I do.
And is this your signature on the line that's titled defendant? Mr. Dadalo, before you signed and initialed these documents, did your attorney go over these documents with you?
Yes, sir.
And did you read and understand everything in these documents?
Yes, sir, I did.
And is everything in these documents true and correct
Yes, sir.
to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir, it is.
Mr. Dadalo, are you a citizen of the United States?
Yes, sir, I am.
State, I have before me states exhibit number 1, the misdemeanor plea admonishment. State, you like to offer states 1?
Yes, Your
No
Honor.
objection.
No objection, states exhibit number 1 will be admitted. Mr. Cole, you've been advising counsel, Mr. Dadalo, is there any evidence that he is currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Dadalo, your attorney, Mr. Cole, has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his representation?
Yes, sir, I am.
Has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation?
Yes, sir, yes.
Mr. Dadalo, I will accept your plea of guilty. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea and waivers were freely and voluntarily given.
Yes, sir.
And I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what is that agreement?
The agreement is to plead to the state's offer of 30 days jail with court costs, with 25 days credit. 25.
Yeah, this
This
is
is
says
Mr.
25.
It
It says 25 on here.
I'm sorry.
And now, what is it? 270? Mr.
21.
Dadalo, the state is offering that you serve 30 days in the Jefferson County Jail. You will be given credit for the time that you've already spent in jail, which is 25 days.
Yes, sir.
You also be given all the time that you also entitled to get by law.
Yes, sir.
The court cost in this case is $270.
Yes, sir.
Would you be able to pay the $270 court cost?
Not right now because I haven't been working.
Okay. Now, I need him to fill out that affidavit. Hold on a minute. It's up there. So. Now, Mr. Dadalow, court had asked whether or not you'll be able to pay the court costs. In this case is $270. You stated that you would not be able to pay it. I have before me a document that is titled Affidavit of Indigence. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And on this document, Mr. Dadalow, there's some information, your monthly income and assets, and your monthly expenses. Is everything on this document true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Dadalow, based on these answers, actually, you meet the eligibility requirements for the eligibility requirements to be determined to be determined indigent, and based on the finding of indigence, the court cost of $270 will be waived pursuant to Article 42.15 Texas Code of Criminal Procedure.
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Dadalow, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes, I do, sir.
Do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Yes, I do.
And do you accept the state's offer?
I accept.
Mr. Dadalow, I'll follow the plea bargain agreement that you have entered into with the state. Do we need him to come up before the clerk for your prints?
Are you right thumb 3 times, please?
Sit down.
Yes, sir, 3 times.
Okay, Mr. Dadalow, this will conclude your case. Please follow the bailiff, and you have a blessed day.
Yes, sir, you do that.
Okay. Travis Haynes,
Well, will I be released there or will I be
you have to check with the
status in jail?
the jail makes that determination. Same to you. Jefferson County Court at Law. Number 2 is back in session. Court is in session and cause number 23 CCCR 0904. Case is style of state of Texas versus Travis Lionel Haynes. Mr. Haynes, is that your full name?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Haynes, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Haynes, do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Haynes, you may put your hand down. How are you doing, Mr. Haynes?
All right, sir.
That's good. Now, Mr. Haynes, you're represented in your case by your attorney, Attorney Giles Cole, and Attorney Cole. Do you waive a record in Mr. Haynes' case?
Yes, sir.
And the state is represented in this case by Attorney Andrew Huber. Attorney Huber, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, Your Honor?
I'm doing fine, thanks, Alex. Now, Mr. Haynes, I have before me a document that is titled information. This information was filed by the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office. In this information, it alleges that you, Travis Lionel Haynes, on or about March 29th of 2023, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed to Class A misdemeanor of resisting arrest, search, or transportation. Mr. Haynes, do you understand what you've been charged with?
Yes, sir.
And to this charge, Mr. Haynes, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
No content. Yes. Very guilty on every one. Just gets it fine.
Okay. Mr. Haynes, are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
And are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Haynes, I also have before me in cause number 23 CCCR 0904, a document that is titled Misdemeanor Plea Admonishments. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
On page 2 of this same document, there's a set of initials TH on a line next to a box that's checked guilty. Do you place your initials on this document?
Yes, sir.
On page 3 of this same document, there's a signature above the line that's titled defendant. Is this your signature?
Yes, sir.
And on the next document, the title trial court certification of the defendant's right of appeal. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And is this your signature on a line that's titled defendant?
Yes, sir.
At the top of this document, there are 2 boxes that's checked. The first box that's checked states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that statement?
Yes, sir.
The next box that's checked states that you're waiving your right to an appeal, which means you're giving up your right to an appeal. Do you understand that statement?
Yes, sir.
Okay, do we have a discovery certification?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Haynes, I also have a document before me that is titled Discovery Certification. You recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And is this your signature on the line that's titled defendant?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Haynes, before you signed and initialed these documents that I just mentioned to you, did your attorney go over these documents with you?
Yes, sir.
And did you read and understand everything that he went over?
Yes, sir.
And is everything in these documents true and correct
Yes, sir.
to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Mr. Haynes, are you a citizen of the United States?
Yes, sir.
State, I have before me State's Exhibit number 1, the misdemeanor plea admonishment. State, would you like to offer State's Exhibit number 1?
Yes, Your Honor.
Objection.
No objection, State's Exhibit number 1 will be admitted. And Mr. Haynes, your attorney, Mr. Cole, has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his representation?
Yes, sir.
Has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Cole, you've advised and counseled Mr. Haynes. Is there any evidence that he's currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
No, yeah.
Mr. Haynes, I will accept your plea of guilty. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. And will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what is that agreement?
The agreement is to a plea to the state offer of 75 days jail with court costs. There's 70 days credit. It's a time served plea, and the court costs will be taxed and retired.
So he has 75 days credit, right? You
Yes,
said,
correct.
okay. So, Mr. Haynes, the state is offering that you serve 75 days in the Jefferson County Jail. However, you're not having to serve any more time in the Jefferson County Jail because you've already served 75 days in Jefferson County Jail. Therefore, you'll be given credit for the time that you've already served. The court costs in this case will be taxed and retired. That just simply means that you will not be required to pay the court costs because the time that you spent in jail has already paid it off. Mr. Haynes, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
Do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Yes, sir.
And do you accept the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Haynes, I'll follow the plea bargaining agreement that you've entered into with the state. Mr. Haynes, now you have the other case. What are we doing on the other case?
That. So, no, go ahead.
We'd like to take it to trial.
Okay, we're gonna reset this one for trial.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, we will reset this case for trial. We'll be giving you a trial date. Okay,
Yes, sir.
so you're free to go. And you have, oh, stand in front of our court clerk. She's gonna get your fingerprints. Once you get the prints, you follow the bill.
3 times, yes, sir. So in each time. That's it.
All right, same again. Larry Nunez is next.
No.
Court is in session in clause number 23 CCCR 1032. The case is styled State of Texas versus Larry Benjamin Nunez. Mr. Nunez, is that your full name?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Nunez, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Nunez, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God? Mr. Nunez, you may put your hand down. How you doing, Mr. Nunez? That's good, Mr. Nunez. You're representing your case by your attorney, Attorney John Cole, Attorney Cole. Do you have a record in Mr. Nunez's case?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Nunez, I have before me a document that is titled Information. This information was filed by the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office. In this information, Mr. Nunez, it alleges that on or about May 7th of 2023, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed the Class B misdemeanor offense of criminal trespass. Mr. Nunez, do you understand what you've been charged with?
Yes, sir.
And to this charge, Mr. Nunez, how do you plead guilty? Not guilty, no contest.
Guilty.
Guilty, now you're pleading guilty freely and voluntarily.
sir.
And are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Sir.
Okay, Mr. Nunez, I also have before me a document that is titled misdemeanor be admonishments. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
On page 2 of the same document, there's a set of initials LN on a line next to the boxes. Check guilty. Did you place your initials on this document?
Yes, sir.
On page 3 of the same document, there's a signature above the line that's titled defendant. Is this your signature?
Yes, sir.
On the next document that's titled trial court certification of the defendant's right of appeal, do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And is this your signature on the line that's titled
Yes, sir.
defendant? At the top of this document, there are 2 boxes checked. The first box that's checked states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that
Yes,
statement?
sir.
The second box that's checked states that you're waiving your right to an appeal, which means you're giving up your right to an appeal. Do you understand that statement? State, do we have a discovery certification?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Nunez, I also have before me a document that is titled discovery certification. You recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And is this your signature on the line that's titled defendant?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Nunez, before you sign and initial these documents that I just showed you, did your attorney, Mr. Cole, go over these documents with you?
Yes, sir.
And did you read and understand everything in these documents?
Yes, sir.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Nunez, are you a citizen of the United States?
Yes, sir.
State, I have before me states exhibit number 1. State, would you like to offer states number 1 into evidence?
Yes, sir.
No objection.
All right.
No objection. States exhibit number 1 will be admitted into evidence. Mr. Cole, you've advised and counseled Mr. Nunez, is there any evidence that he is currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Nunez, your attorney, Mr. Cole, has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his representation?
Yes, sir.
Has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Nunez, I will accept your plea of guilty. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. And I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what is that agreement?
The agreement is to a plea to the state's offer of 50 days jail with 50 days credit. It's a time served plea and court costs will be taxed and retired.
Mr. Nunez, the state is offering that you serve 50 days in the Jefferson County Jail. However, you will not have to serve any more time in the Jefferson County Jail in this case because you've already served 50 days in the Jefferson County Jail. Therefore, you'll be given credit for the time that you've already served. The court costs in this case will be taxed and retired. That simply means that you will not be required to pay the court costs because the time that you spent in jail has already paid it off. Therefore, the court costs will be taxed and retired. Mr. Nunez, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
Do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Yes, sir.
And do you accept the state's offer?
I accept.
Mr. Nunez, I'll follow the plea bargain agreement that you have entered into with the state. Mr. Nunez, if you do not have anything else holding you in jail, you should be getting out of jail today. Mr. Nunez, you're going to stand on the X next to your attorney, follow the directions of our clerk. Once you finish following her directions, you can follow the bailiff. Hold on. Aaron Simpson is going to be next. Jefferson County Court of Law is back in session. The court is in session and calls number M334126. Case to style the state of Texas versus Aaron Julius Simpson. Mr. Simpson, is that your full name?
Yes, sir.
How you doing, Mr. Simpson?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for asking. Now, Mr. Simpson, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Simpson, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Simpson, you may put your hand down. Mr. Simpson, you're represented in your case by your attorney, Attorney Giles Cole. Attorney Cole, do you waive a record in Mr. Simpson's case?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Simpson, I have before me a document that is titled Information. This information alleges that on or about October 14th of 2022, that you, Aaron Julius Simpson, committed the Class B misdemeanor offense of theft. Mr. Simpson, do you understand what you have been charged with?
Yes, sir.
And to this charge, Mr. Simpson, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, no contest?
Guilty.
Now, you're pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes.
And are you
Your Honor.
pleading guilty because you are guilty?
I'm guilty.
Mr. Simpson, I have before me a document that is titled Misdemeanor Plea Admonishment. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
On page 2 of this same document, there's a set of initials, AS, on the line next to a box that's
Yes, sir.
checked guilty. Did you place your initials on this document?
Yes, Your Honor.
On page 3 of the same document, there's a signature above the line that is titled defendant. Is this your signature?
Yes, Your Honor.
And on the next document that's titled trial court certification of defendant's right of appeal, do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And is this your signature on the line that's titled defendant?
Yes, Your Honor.
At the top of this document, there are 2 boxes that's checked. The first box that's checked states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that statement?
Yes,
The
yes.
second box that's checked states that you're waiving your right to an appeal, which means you're giving up your right to an appeal. Do you understand that statement?
Yes, yes.
We have a discovery certification. And Mr. Simpson, I also have a document here that is titled Discovery Certification. You recognize this document?
Yes, Your Honor.
And is this your signature on the line that's titled defendant?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Simpson, before you signed and initialed these documents that I just showed you, did you read the documents?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you understand what you read?
Yes, sir.
And is everything in this document true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Simpson, are you a citizen of the United States?
Yes, sir.
State, I have before me State's Exhibit number 1. State, would you like to offer State's Exhibit number 1?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Cole, you have any objections?
No, no, sir.
No objection. State's Exhibit number 1 will be admitted. Mr. Cole, you've advised in counsel, Mr. Simpson. Is there any evidence that he is currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
No, Your
Simpson, the attorney, Mr. Cole, is advised in counsel. Are you satisfied with his representation?
Yes, sir.
Has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Simpson, I will accept your plea of guilty. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea and waiver was freely and voluntarily given. And I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what is that agreement?
The agreement is to plead to the state's offer of 45 days jail with 45 days credit. It's a time served plea and court costs will be taxed and retired in this case.
Mr. Simpson, the state is offering that you serve 45 days in Jefferson County Jail. However, you will not have to serve any more time in the Jefferson County Jail on this case because you have already served 45 days in Jefferson County Jail. Therefore, you'll be given credit for the time that you've already served.
Yes,
The
sir.
court costs in this case will be taxed and retired. That simply means that because you have already served 45 days in Jefferson County Jail, the time that you served in jail has already paid off the court costs. Therefore, the court costs will be taxed and retired. Mr. Simpson, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
Do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Yes, sir.
And do you accept the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Simpson, I'll follow the plea bargain agreement that you have entered into with the state. Mr. Simpson, if you do not have anything else holding you in,
Okay.
you should be getting out of jail today. Now, Mr. Simpson, please have a seat in the jury box, and when the clerk is ready for you, she will call you, yes, right there. She will call you to her window, and once you go to the window, you'll follow the bailiff, and you have a blessed day. Simpson,
Did she have her paperwork?
she couldn't. This is cause number 23CCCR088, excuse me, let me repeat that. Cause number 23CCCR0800. The case is styled the state of Texas versus Nevada, Damon Bates. Mr. Bates, is that your full name? Mr. Bates, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Bates, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth so help you God? Mr. Bates, you may put your hand down. How are you doing, Mr. Bates? You all right? That's good. Now, Mr. Bates, you're represented in your case by your attorney, Attorney Giles Cole, Attorney Cole. Do you waive a record in Mr. Bates' case?
Yes, we do, yeah.
Mr. Bates, I have before me a document that was filed by the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office. This document is titled information. This information alleges that you, Nevada Damon Bates, on or about April 10th of 2023, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed the Class B misdemeanor offense of criminal trespass. Mr. Bates, do you understand what you've been charged with?
Yes, sir.
And to this charge, Mr. Bates, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, no contest? Now, are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily? And are you pleading guilty because you are guilty? Mr. Bates, I also have before me a document that is titled misdemeanor plea admonishment. It's also labeled as State's Exhibit Number 1. Mr. Bates, do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
On page 2 of the same document, Mr. Bates, there are a set of initials on a line next to a box 6 check guilty. Mr. Bates, did you place your initials NB on this document? You have to speak up.
Yes.
On page 3 of the same document, there is a signature above the line that is titled defendant. Is this your signature?
Yes.
And on the next document, Mr. Bates, the next document is titled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal. Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
And is this your signature on the line that's titled defendant? At the top of this document, there are 2 boxes that's checked. The first box that's checked states that this is a plea bargaining case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that statement? The second box that's checked states that you're waiving your right to an appeal, which means you're giving up your right to an appeal. Do you understand that statement? And I also have before me a document that is titled Discovery Certification. Do you recognize this document? You have to speak up.
Yes, sir.
And is this your signature on the line that's titled defendant?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Bates, before you signed and initialed these documents that I just showed you, did your attorney go over these documents with you?
Yes, sir.
And did you read and understand everything in these documents?
Yes, sir.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bates, are you a citizen of the United States?
Yes, sir.
State, I have before me State's Exhibit Number 1, the misdemeanor plea admonishment. State, would you like to offer State's Exhibit Number 1?
Yes, Your Honor.
No objection.
No objection. State's Exhibit Number 1 will be admitted. Mr. Cole, you've advised in counsel, Mr. Bates, is there any evidence that he is currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
No, Your
Mr. Bates, your attorney, Mr. Cole has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his representation?
It's a representation. Yes.
Are you satisfied with his representation? Has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation?
Yes.
Mr. Bates, I will accept your plea of guilty. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what is that agreement?
The agreement is to plead the state's offer of 30 days jail with court costs. The state is giving Mr. Bates 21-day credit.
Okay. Okay. And do we know what the court cost is in this case?
No, sir.
Mr. Bates' case?
No, sir.
No, let me find out from her. Glenda, do you see his court costs?
Is it a new case or is it a converted case? What's
It's a new case.
we wouldn't be able to see it until we type the judgment.
Well, he needs to know,
I
we have to know what he can, whether or not he is able to pay it. We need it, so you're gonna have to, well,
You will, I mean, if I can get on your computer. Yeah.
well, let me do this here. Well, don't worry about that. I'm looking at this here right here. Okay, now, Mr. Bates, the state is offering that you serve 30 days in Jefferson County Jail. You've already served 21 days in Jefferson County Jail. Therefore, you'll be given credit for the 21 days that you've already served, plus any time that you're also entitled to get by law. Now, there is court costs in this case. And normally the court will ask whether or not you can pay the court costs. But the court is looking at an affidavit of indigence. And could you show this to Mr. Bates? That affidavit? Mr. Bates, you recognize that document? Now, on page 3, is that page 2 of that document? You should have a signature.
We're here inside the jail.
Let's see, it's probably going to be on one of those pages where he signed it. Let me see it. I see where a judge has signed it.
Yes.
Let me see. Okay. Okay. Well, I see here. Now, Mr. Bates, I see here that there is a signature by a judge, a magistrate on June 27th of 2023. At that time, this judge checked off a box, yes, indicating that you met the eligibility requirements of an attorney. What that basically meant was the court found that you were indigent, okay? And I'm looking at this document. Is everything on this document still true and correct today in terms of your monthly income and assets and your monthly expenses? And based on that, you are indigent. So based on the finding of indigency, the court is going to waive the court costs in this case pursuant to Article 42.15 of the Texas Code of Criminal Procedure, because the court has found that you are indigent. Okay, now, Mr. Bates, do you understand the state's offer? And do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just? And do you accept the state's offer? Mr. Bates, I'll follow the plea bargain agreement that you've entered into with the state. Now, Mr. Bates, please have a seat in the jury box.
I can get a fingerprint, right?
Okay, Mr. Bates, will you please stand in front of our court clerk?
About a bit.
I'll be excused, Your Honor.
Yes, you may be excused. And Mr. Andrew Hubel, you may be excused as well.